My mom's 24-year-old fiancé demanded I call him dad, then I showed mom proof he was only after her money. 29M, never imagined my mom's midlife crisis would end up like this. 4 months ago, mom 52F introduced me to her new boyfriend Jake, 24M. Yes, you read that right, her boyfriend is 5 years younger than me. Whatever makes her happy, right? I tried to be supportive. Seriously. But something about Jake just felt off. When we first met, Jake was all smiles and bro talk, acting like we were going to be best buds. He kept mentioning mom's house, sweet place, her car, sick ride, and asking weirdly specific questions about my late father's insurance payout. Red flags everywhere, but mom was practically glowing whenever he was around. Fast forward 3 months, I get a text from mom saying she has big news and wants me to come over for dinner. I arrive to find Jake already there, arm wrapped possessively around mom's shoulders. Before I even sit down, they announce they're engaged, after dating for 3 months. We're in love, mom gushed, flashing a massive diamond ring that definitely cost more than she could afford. When you know, you know. Jake just smirked at me over her shoulder. Can't wait to be part of the family, man. I forced a smile, congratulated them, and excused myself to the bathroom where I immediately texted my sister Liv, 31F. SOS, mom engaged to Jake, red alert. Dinner was awkward AF. Jake dominated the conversation, talking about all the improvements he wanted to make to mom's house. My childhood home. The home my dad built with his own hands before he died 3 years ago. Maybe we'll finally renovate that outdated kitchen, Jake said, mouth full of the lasagna mom had spent all day making. Granite countertops, stainless steel, everything. That sounds expensive, I said carefully. Your mom deserves the best, Jake replied, kissing her cheek. Besides, that retirement account is just sitting there. Mom's face fell slightly. I'd never discussed finances with her, but I knew dad had left her comfortable, not wealthy. Comfortable enough that a 24-year-old with no visible means of income might find her very appealing. As I was leaving, Jake pulled me aside. Listen, man, your mom and I are getting married. Time for you to accept that I'm the man of the house now. I just nodded, eager to escape. But as I reached for the door, he added, she says you come around every Sunday for dinner. That's gonna change. She needs to focus on her new life. With me. That's when I decided to start digging. Turns out Jake wasn't hard to research. His Instagram was public, full of photos showing him at clubs, on vacations, always tagging different older women. His LinkedIn claimed he was an entrepreneur and investor, but listed no actual companies or education. Most damning was his Twitter, where he'd recently replied to a post about dating older women. They're so grateful for attention, they don't ask questions about where you go at night. Plus that retirement dollar. I took screenshots of everything, created a folder on my phone, and waited. I knew confronting mom directly would just make her defensive. I needed the right moment. It came sooner than expected. The following Sunday, I showed up for our usual dinner despite Jake's warning. Mom seemed nervous when she opened the door. Oh, Tyler, I forgot to call you. Jake and I made other plans tonight. From inside, I heard Jake shout, is that your kid? I told you to call him. Mom's face flushed with embarrassment as Jake appeared behind her, clearly annoyed. Dude, we talked about this, he said. We need some alone time. It's just dinner, I replied. Family tradition since dad died. Jake's expression darkened. Well, I'm her family now, and it's dad to you. I almost choked. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm marrying your mom. Show some respect. I looked at mom, expecting her to shut this down immediately. Instead, she nodded. Tyler, please. Jake's going to be your stepfather. Is it so hard to show some respect? Something inside me snapped. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of my mother asking me to call someone 5 years younger than me dad was too much. Are you laughing at us? Mom demanded, her voice rising. Show some respect. That's when I pulled out my phone. Mom, we need to talk. Alone. Anything you have to say can be said in front of my fiancé, she insisted. So I showed her. Everything. The posts about targeting older women, the comments about retirement accounts, the photos with at least 3 other older women over the past year, all wearing similar engagement rings. He's a con artist, Mom. He's after your money. Mom's face went from anger to confusion to dawning horror. Jake tried to grab my phone, but I stepped back. "It's all taken out of context," he shouted. "Baby, don't listen to him, he's just jealous." But Mom had seen enough. Her hands were shaking. "Is this true, Jake?" "Of course not. I love you." But his eyes kept darting to the door. "Get out," Mom whispered. When he didn't move, she pointed to the door. "Get out." Jake's face transformed. The charm vanished, replaced by ugly rage. "You stupid old bitch. You think anyone your age gets a guy like me without paying for it?" I stepped between them. "Leave, now, before I call the cops." He left, but not before promising, "This isn't over." Mom cried all night. I stayed with her, sleeping on the couch. In the morning, she changed the locks and called off the engagement. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. Update 1. It's been a week since the Jake disaster, and holy shit, things escalated fast. Mom moved quickly after kicking Jake out. She changed all the locks since Jake had been living with her for the past month. She also blocked his number, but he still managed to contact her through new burner phones and email addresses we hadn't blocked yet. Monday and Tuesday, Jake bombarded these channels with messages, switching between apologies. "Baby, I can explain. Let me come back." Threats. "You'll regret this." And guilt trips. "I gave up everything for you." She ignored all of them. Wednesday morning, Mom called me in a panic. Jake had shown up at her workplace, causing a scene in the lobby of the accounting firm where she's worked for 15 years. Security escorted him out, but not before he shouted that she owed him for wasting his time and would pay one way or another. Her co-workers were horrified. Mom was mortified. I suggested she file for a restraining order, but she was hesitant, still embarrassed about the whole situation. "It's just a bad breakup," she said. "He'll get over it." That night, someone keyed her car. No proof it was Jake, but come on. Things got really weird on Thursday. Mom's friend Carol called her, confused about why Mom was asking for money. "What are you talking about?" Mom asked. Turns out, Jake had created a fake Facebook profile using Mom's photos and was messaging her friends, claiming she was in financial trouble after being scammed by her son. He was asking them to send money to help her get back on her feet. Carol almost fell for it until she noticed the terrible grammar in the messages. "My mom is a former English teacher and grammar Nazi extraordinaire." That's when Mom finally agreed to file a police report. The officer who took the statement seemed bored until I showed him Jake's social media history. Suddenly, he was very interested, saying this matched the pattern of a romance scammer they'd been tracking. Saturday morning, Mom woke up to find her garden destroyed. Every plant ripped out, her beloved rose bushes, the ones she and Dad had planted when they first bought the house 25 years ago, all cut down to stumps, written in mulch across the lawn. "Pay up." That was the breaking point. Mom immediately called the police again to report the vandalism, then spent the rest of the day filing for a restraining order. The next day, while waiting for the restraining order to be processed, I helped Mom set up security cameras around the property, something I'd been suggesting since Jake first showed up at her workplace. We were in the middle of installing the final camera when Jake showed up on Sunday evening, clearly drunk. He thought Mom would be at church, she goes every Sunday evening, but she'd skipped it because of everything happening. The doorbell camera we'd just installed caught him stumbling up to the porch, muttering to himself about getting what's mine. He had a key. The creep had made a copy before Mom changed the locks. When the key didn't work, he started pounding on the door, screaming, "I know you're in there. You owe me. We had a deal." Mom called 911 while I stood by the door, baseball bat in hand, Dad's old Louisville Slugger. Jake was still screaming when the cops showed up. "She promised to put me in her will. We had an agreement. That house is mine." The officers cuffed him right there on the porch. Turns out violating a restraining order while drunk and admitting to attempted fraud isn't a great combo. As they put him in the cruiser, one officer came back to take Mom's statement. That's when things got interesting. "Ma'am, you should know. This isn't his first rodeo. There are 2 other complaints against him from women in the area. Similar MO." The officer showed Mom a mugshot from 6 months ago. Jake had been arrested for theft from another older woman, but charges were dropped when she refused to testify. "These guys target vulnerable women, usually widows with some assets," the officer explained. "They love bomb them, move fast into engagement, then start draining resources." Mom was quiet for a long time after the police left. Finally, she said, "I feel so stupid." "You're not stupid," I told her. "He's just a really experienced con artist." "Your father would be so disappointed in me," she whispered. That broke my heart. Dad would understand, and he'd be proud of how you handled it once you knew the truth. She hugged me then, really hugged me, for the first time since this whole mess began. I thought that was the end of the Jake saga. But yesterday, my phone exploded with notifications. 7 missed calls from Mom in the span of 10 minutes. I called back immediately, panicked something terrible had happened. But for the first time in weeks, Mom was laughing. "You won't believe who just called me," she said. "Jake's mother." Update 2. Okay, so Jake's mom, Karen, because of course that's her name, somehow got Mom's number and called to berate her for getting her son in trouble. According to Karen, Jake is just misunderstood and has a big heart. Mom put her on speaker so I could hear the whole thing. "Do you know what you've done?" Karen shrieked. "My son has a record now because of you." "Your son has a record because he violated a restraining order," Mom replied calmly, "and tried to con me out of my savings. He wouldn't have needed to if you just helped him like you promised. He told me all about how you led him on with promises of supporting his business ventures." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. Business ventures? Jake's Instagram showed his only ventures were nightclubs and buying designer clothes with other people's money. "I never promised Jake anything except loyalty, which he betrayed," Mom said. "And I have to wonder if you know what your son really does for a living." Karen went ballistic. "How dare you? My son is an entrepreneur. He's helping these lonely old women have some happiness in their pathetic lives." Mom's eyebrows shot up. "These women? Plural?" Silence on the other end as Karen realized her slip. "You know what he does, don't you?" Mom said quietly. "You know he scams women." More silence then. "They get what they pay for. A handsome young man on their arm, making them feel young again. What's wrong with that arrangement?" Mom's face hardened. "The arrangement part wasn't exactly disclosed, Karen. Neither was the theft, harassment, or destruction of property. He wouldn't have had to do any of that if you'd just held up your end. He spent 3 months pretending to care about your boring life. That's worth something." I'd never seen my mom so calm in the face of such insanity. "You know what? You're right. Tell Jake I'll pay him." My jaw dropped. Karen immediately changed her tone. "Well, finally some sense. He says you owe him $10,000 for the time invested." "I'll pay him exactly what his time was worth," Mom said coolly. "I'll see him in court." Then she hung up. Karen called back immediately, but Mom blocked the number. "You're suing him?" I asked, stunned. Mom smiled grimly. "I spoke with the police again yesterday. Turns out Jake has pulled this scam on at least 3 other women in the area. None pressed charges because they were too embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed anymore. I'm angry." The next day, Mom met with a lawyer who specializes in elder fraud, though Mom nearly walked out when the lawyer used the term elder to describe her. They decided to pursue both criminal charges and a civil suit for the property damage, the attempted fraud, and emotional distress. 2 weeks later, the preliminary hearing for Jake's case was scheduled. Mom and I both attended, along with, surprise, 2 other women who'd been scammed by Jake in the past year. They'd come forward after seeing the police report. One woman, Barbara, had lost nearly $30,000 to Jake before figuring out what was happening. Jake's face when he saw all 3 women sitting together was priceless. All color drained from his skin as he realized how screwed he was. His court-appointed attorney immediately requested a sidebar with the judge and prosecutor. 15 minutes later, they announced Jake would be pleading guilty to reduced charges in exchange for full restitution to his victims. Outside the courthouse, Jake's mom was waiting, face twisted with rage. "You're all just jealous old hags," she screamed as we walked past. "He could have had anyone, but he chose you. You should be grateful." Barbara, a stylish woman in her 60s, stopped and stared Karen down. "My husband died protecting this country. Your son stole the money meant to support me in my retirement. There's a special place in hell for people like you who raise children to prey on the grieving." Karen at least had the decency to shut up after that. The real bombshell came when the prosecutor approached us. "I thought you ladies should know. We seized his phone. There's evidence of at least 12 more victims across 3 states, and his mother's phone shows she was actively helping him target women through grief support groups on Facebook. That night, Mom opened a bottle of Dad's favorite whiskey that she'd been saving. We sat on the back porch swing that Dad had built before he passed away. "I can't believe I fell for it," she said, staring into her glass. "I was just so lonely." "You're allowed to want companionship, Mom," I said. "Just maybe run a background check next time." She laughed, a real laugh, the kind I hadn't heard since before Dad died. "Your father warned me, you know. He told me I was too trusting. Said that was why I had you kids to look out for me when he was gone." She squeezed my hand. "Thank you for watching out for me." "Always," I promised. Final update. It's been 6 months since the Jake fiasco ended, and I figure I owe you all a final update. Jake is currently serving 18 months for fraud, theft, and violation of restraining orders. His mother Karen got 12 months probation for her role as an accessory. Turns out they'd been running this scam for nearly 4 years, targeting widows and grief support groups. Karen would identify potential victims, then Jake would coincidentally meet them. The prosecutor found evidence of at least 15 victims total, with estimated damages over $200,000. Most were too embarrassed to come forward, but after Mom, Barbara, and the third victim, Diane, went public with their stories, 5 more women joined the case. The judge ordered full restitution, which means Jake will be paying his victims back for basically the rest of his life once he's out. Karma's a bitch. As for Mom, she's doing amazing. The whole experience changed her in ways I never expected. Instead of retreating from life out of embarrassment, she's become an advocate for romance scam awareness, speaking at senior centers and community groups. She even started a support group for other victims that meets monthly at our local library. Last week, she was interviewed for the local news about romance scams targeting widows. The reporter asked if the experience had made her give up on finding love again. "Absolutely not," Mom said. "But next time, I'll trust my son when he tells me something's off." Not gonna lie, I teared up a bit when she said that. The good news, Mom is dating again, properly this time. His name is Richard, he's 56, a high school science teacher, and best of all, a family friend I've known for years. His son Mark has been my friend since college. They're taking things slow, been dating 3 months, and not a single mention of engagement or moving in together. Mom had me run a background check anyway. Richard thought it was hilarious and completely reasonable, given what happened. That's when I knew he might be a keeper. As for me, this whole experience brought Mom and me closer than we've been since Dad died. We talk more openly now. She's less defensive, I'm less overprotective. Finding the right balance. Last Sunday, I arrived for our weekly dinner to find Mom and Liv in the kitchen, laughing over old family photos while Richard helped prep salad. Mom had replaced her destroyed garden with new plants, different varieties than what she and Dad had originally planted 25 years ago, but beautiful in their own way. Change isn't always bad. Sometimes it's necessary. And sometimes what looks like an ending is actually a new beginning. Oh, and I got a text from an unknown number yesterday. "Jake, using some contraband phone in prison. Just 6 words, tell your mom I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Some people don't deserve second chances. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Couldn't have gotten through this without you all.